Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a slightly different video, but something that I think is really timely for the economic situation that we're in today, and that is how to sell your pre-loved items and get the most for your money. So if you're like me and most of the world right now, most of us are stuck inside and there's mass closures of stores as people are told to self-isolate and to stay inside to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And what that means is a lot of people have been made redundant because stores haven't been opening, people aren't spending, and the economy has just been absolutely wiped. So you might be looking to sell some of your pre-loved goods or things around your house that you're not really using, but you could definitely use that extra cash. And this video is really here to help you with that and to help you with getting the most out of your money, because there are a multitude of selling platforms that you can consider. And it's important to know that actually not all selling platforms are equal. So in my time, I have had a lot of experience selling and buying goods, and I thought I would share with you my experience and what I found to have worked best in terms of giving me the most return for my money in selling my bags in the pre-loved market. Some bags which I've sold and bought over the time include my first Chanel bag. So my very first Chanel bag I ended up selling. Actually, I did do an unboxing video of it and I'll link it up right here. I did end up selling that bag and I got a pretty decent return for it considering it was a seasonal piece. I've also since sold my Givenchy Antigona in the blush color, which I also did a in-depth review of, and various other small goods here and there like the Louis Vuitton Kirigami pouches, which I impulse bought, absolutely regretted buying, and then sold. So in each of those purchases, I actually didn't lose much money at all. And I think I've kind of have a pretty good understanding or a good knowledge of the different platforms that you can use and which ones will help you get the most for your money. So please do stay tuned until the very end. And I really hope that this does help you as well if you're looking to sell your luxury items on the pre-loved market. Okay, before we get started, I would really appreciate if you could please scroll down and hit the subscribe button. I do weekly uploads of videos talking about luxury goods and all things money and luxury, and I would love for you to join me every week. Now, the first one on the list is the retail resellers. So this includes websites like Fashionphile, The RealReal, Yogi's Closet. So they sell pre-loved goods and that's what they're really known for. Generally, their prices aren't that cheap, I've got to admit, compared to going out in the market, but the benefit of those resellers is that they generally guarantee authenticity for you. Well, you may not have noticed that actually they also buy goods from people, so they buy luxury goods. And the way this works is you usually go onto their website, you submit a quote or an estimate for a quote where you'll upload the details and photos of your bag, and then they'll email you back with how much they'll pay you for that bag. You'll then ship the bag to them. They'll send you the money and they will then find the seller, and you don't need to go through that whole piece of finding the seller, shipping to them, and potentially being scammed. One of the big downsides about these retail sellers is that they don't really give you much money for your bags. They make a living because they need to also sell the bag on. So generally what you find with these retail sellers is that they end up giving you probably half of what the market value of your bag would be. So it's really not a great option if you're looking to get the most out of your money. But what I can say with these retail resellers is that they'll be a lot more convenient. You don't need to go through the hassle of having to find a seller, arrange for it to be shipped, and all those logistical things, but you really won't get the most for your money. So for that reason, unless you're desperate for a quick buck and you're not too fussed about getting the most out of your money, then I would say look at some of the other options that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. Now going into the second option, and that is going through professional sellers. You can usually find these professional sellers through the Facebook groups, and they sell secondhand pre-loved goods professionally. So that's actually their job. They're shoppers for people, and you can usually reach out to them to help sell your bag. What they usually do is they'll charge you a commission on top of your sale price, so maybe say 10%, and you ship. And I think that, well, it depends on the seller, but some might cover the cost of shipping for you. And they do a very similar thing to the retail reseller. They will help you connect with the buyer without you actually ever needing to contact the buyer. So they're really that middle person, and it is a lot more convenient, but again, they do charge that commission on top. And if you're looking for a bag that's, you know, a few $1,000s, that is a few $100s less than if you were able to sell it yourself. With professional sellers as well, what I would also recommend is doing your research, because there's nothing worse than the feeling of getting scammed, especially when it's you're needing the money or the item is actually quite expensive. So do your research, please, and look and see if they're reputable, if they've got good sources, good history of selling bags on the market. If they're relatively new, I would be a little bit cautious, you know, because again, with Facebook and things like that, you never know. But they're definitely an option. If you find a good one, then they will help you ease the hassle of having to find a buyer. But again, like I mentioned, they do. Now, the third option I'm going to go through is one that a lot of people will probably go through by default because they think it's a great option. You do the listing yourself and you set the price, and it's an open market, and this is eBay. So you could definitely list your goods on eBay, but something that a lot of people may not realize, particularly if they're new to the eBay selling platform, is that there are a whole heap of fees associated with selling on eBay. So you may list your bag at market price on eBay, but you'll have a substantial amount of that taken out when you actually sell. So some of the fees I'll highlight that eBay usually charges is a listing fee. That's just the fee to list your bag or your luxury item. And if you are selling new, then they may waive this fee for your first few sales, but there is a listing fee. And then once your bag is actually sold, depending on the payment method, it's usually PayPal. So PayPal also charges a fee. You're looking about 3 or so %. And then eBay on top of that charges seller's fee, so fee for the final value of your sale, and that equates to almost 10%. So you're looking at some pretty hefty fees selling on eBay. And I personally sold on eBay, and when you get the money, you go, oh my god, like this is great, I've sold it for almost market price. And then eBay will send you an invoice at the end of the month for the amount that you owe them for selling your good, and then that can be quite a substantial portion. So if you're looking at a bag that's a few $1,000s, then again, eBay will take a few hundred, and then, you know, PayPal will also take a cut. So what you get is actually a lot lower because of those fees that you may not realize at the time. The upside about selling on eBay is that there is a huge market on eBay. So a lot of people will go on eBay to look for pre-loved goods. So you can definitely get buyers there. And because it is eBay is quite well established. So there's a lot of protections there for both the buyer and seller. And because of that, buyers are generally more willing to have a go on eBay because they know they'll be protected through the policies they have in place. And similarly, as a seller, you know you'll also be protected in a way because they help manage the whole payment process and everything like that. So that is the safety, I guess, of going through eBay. But again, I would think although it's a good option to consider, it's not one that will necessarily give you the most for your money. So now I'm going to go on to the fourth and fifth options, which are the two that I personally prefer to use. And the fourth one is to go through Facebook Marketplace. So Facebook Marketplace is essentially a marketplace through Facebook where you can sell and buy goods. They usually have pages as well, which are set up dedicated for luxury items. So I'm in a few of them. Some are called like high-end luxury bags, and people post their pictures up and listings on the Facebook website where people can then go through and scroll and see if there's anything that they like. So the upside of going through Facebook Marketplace is, of course, Facebook does not charge a listing fee. So it is free to list and no selling fee. So once you've sold it, Facebook themselves don't charge a selling fee, which is, as you can tell, as I mentioned with the other platforms, could be, you know, saving about 10%. And if you're talking about thousands of dollars, that's hundreds of dollars you're literally saving or getting it back into your pocket. Other fees that you may incur would potentially be PayPal fees if you're doing payment through PayPal, which a lot of people prefer for the whole safety protection reason, and shipping fees. So of course, Facebook is a wide market, and more often than not, you'll be shipping your goods to the buyer. And particularly in this climate that we're in now, where we're all about social isolation, it's probably recommended to ship rather than come face to face with the person or the buyer. What I would say about Facebook is there are downsides. So Facebook, selling things on Facebook can really open yourself up to scams, and that's also the same with the fifth option. So I'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but I would say Facebook is a good place because you can list your goods for about market price, that pre-loved item, and you would get most of that money into your back pocket as opposed to paying in fees. And the price is negotiable, so you can set the price. People will likely negotiate or haggle with you, and of course you don't need to accept it, so you can come to a happy middle ground, or if the price is just too unreasonably low, then you don't need to accept it at all. I personally use Facebook Marketplace when I sold my Givenchy Antigona bag. I've listed on several platforms, and Facebook Marketplace was the most successful for me to sell that particular item, and I got a really great price for it. I'm super happy. The buyer was really happy with it as well, so it was definitely a win-win situation. Now, the fifth and final option that you could also consider is selling on other online secondhand platforms such as Gumtree and Craigslist. So in Australia, Gumtree is probably a lot bigger than Craigslist is, and Gumtree is a great platform for you to sell your goods. There's absolutely no fees involved for listing and selling the good. You can list for free. Of course, you can do paid extra optionals, so have your listing at the very top or special banners and things like that, but you definitely don't need to do that. And you can put photos and descriptions of your goods, and people will contact you if they're interested, and then of course they'll usually always negotiate for the price and all that, but you can pretty much set the price that you want or willing to sell your bag for, and you'll know you'll get most of that back, probably less shipping and PayPal fees, for example. But again, you can negotiate with the buyer, they pay for those fees, and so you can get the most money back in your pocket through that particular platform. Of course, I would say Gumtree is probably one of the ones that are better if you can actually meet face to face when you're doing the sale. So I've sold a fair few items through Gumtree, and I've always done it face to face. I would definitely recommend face to face for Gumtree because they don't really have the same protections as those other platforms. On Facebook, at least you can find their Facebook profile, and it gives you a little bit of comfort to understand, see if they're a real person or if they're a scam artist. Gumtree, you don't have any of those kind of protections, so face-to-face is definitely the way to go. But of course, again, as I mentioned, with coronavirus and having to stay inside and away from people, particularly strangers, it's not recommended to go and meet face-to-face as of right now. So you can still sell through shipping the item. So that goes through my top 5 recommended platforms for selling pre-loved goods, but I couldn't do this segment properly without really going through the risk as well. And this is a risk particularly with the 4th and 5th option that I've recommended. I personally prefer those options, but it's definitely a lot riskier because you don't have the same protections of a professional listing platform or knowing that the seller will actually pay you. And a lot of the common scams you get is through the bank account scams and the PayPal scams. And unfortunately, I've actually had this happen to a friend of mine, and it's not a great feeling. So I wanted to go through with you my top tips for trying to prevent this from happening to you. So a lot of the scams often involve the payment method. So if you're doing bank transfer, what I would say is use a shell bank account. I'm not saying that in a dodgy way, but use a bank account that you don't really use that often, that you don't have all your money linked to, so that if you do give them those bank details, you don't need to be worried that they can then use those bank details and steal all your money, which you get these calls, scam calls, which that's exactly what they do. Make sure that the money is clear. So don't rely on receipts that they send you to say, oh, hey, I've sent you this payment, yeah, but it'll take a few days to transfer, but don't worry, I've sent it. No, don't, I'm not saying don't have faith in people, but again, you need to be smart about it. So make sure the money clears, and I always wait for the money to clear. It's great that they gave me a receipt, thank you very much, but I want to see the money hit my bank account, and I like to be able to transfer that money out of that particular bank account to another bank account that I have, just to make sure that there's no way they could record the money or do anything dodgy with it, so that once I've sent the goods, somehow they can get the money back. So that's what I've always done. If they prefer to do bank transfer, I get them to transfer me the money. I want to see the money clear my account first, and then I'll send the goods out. But before I see the money, before it physically hits my bank accounts, I don't send it out. And then the second scam, which you'll hear of quite often, are these PayPal scams. And goodness gracious, they're so sophisticated. They look so legitimate. So they'll say, I've sent you funds through PayPal. You'll probably get an email from PayPal saying that they've sent you money, and it all looks so legitimate. The email, receipts, everything, it'll look really, really legitimate that they've sent you money through PayPal. When you go into your actual PayPal account though, you won't see any money. So you're wondering, oh, what's happening? You'll ask them questions and they'll give you a really believable reason. And unfortunately, this has gotten a lot of people. So if you do use PayPal as the method of payment, you can either just invoice them or they can send you money. So you give them your PayPal email address and they'll send you money. Always wait for the money to hit your PayPal account. And what I mean by that is actually log into your PayPal account and see the balance there so that you can actually see that you've received the money and that you can transfer the money out. Otherwise, it's really risky to rely on their word. And I'm not saying that everyone is dodgy, but of course unfortunately, there are those people out there who are dodgy and they will take advantage of people with both bank transfers and PayPals. Never rely on their receipts. Always check for yourself in your own account that you can verify you've received the money and that you can actually transfer it out into your own personal bank accounts. And that way you can ship the goods with peace of mind generally that, it's a legitimate buyer. And so that wraps it up for my segment. And those are my top tips for selling on the resale market, and also how to potentially help stop yourself from being scammed if you do go down those routes. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that it has helped, and please do leave a comment below. Let me know what you think is the best option for you and why. And if you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button. I do weekly uploads talking about all things luxury, fashion and money, and I would love to see you next week as well.